get it right. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protest and anthems. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of, it's the energy of, in memory of them that we love, the trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth, we speak, the power's even louder, we can say it blacker, we can say it prouder, a woman vice president that went to Howard, now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent, bringing light to the point where the business is, I was told good life is where forgiveness lives, the ascension is to leave what's left behind, and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify with you and God in time, my best align.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right indeed. You are listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai joining you live from our nation's capital. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q. That's all you got to do. You ain't got to remember all 19 letters. You can just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up. You can follow me on Instagram, on X, on Spill, on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. There we are for your listening pleasure. Also, subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. Now, it is time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. But before we jump to that, happy Cesar Chavez Day. I know that across the country, people don't celebrate Cesar Chavez Day, but in California, where our home station is, we certainly celebrate the American civil rights activist and labor leader and co-founder of the National Farm Workers Association, which later merged with the Agriculture Workers Organizing Committee to become the United Farm Workers Labor Union. And at a time where organized labor is in quite a fight with the powers that be, it's a good day to reflect on the life and legacy of Cesar Chavez. And so we are remembering Cesar Chavez here on A More Perfect Union. Now on to your headlines. Kicking us off, NBC News is reporting on something that's pretty important to any auto customers out there. In case you were wondering, here are the automobile makes and models that would be the most affected by Trump's tariffs. President Trump, of course, announced that 25% tariffs will be imposed on all vehicles. And here's the kicker: vehicle parts not made in the United States starting April 3rd. Some automobile makes and models are going to be affected more than others, and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration keeps a running list of the final assembly country of all automobiles sold in the United States, and as well as the country of origin for their engines and transmission. The Trump administration is still finalizing details about how exactly it'll determine which automobiles will be subject to that 25% import tax. Administration officials have sought to simplify its proposed auto tariff by stating that any vehicle not assembled in the United States would be subject to the duties. And so, vehicles subject to the new tariff. You want to hear which vehicles they are? Vehicles with final assembly points outside the U.S. Include Acura ADX FWD, an Audi Q8 Advanced 55 e-tron, also the Audi Q8 Sportsback, a lot of Audis, Audi SQ8, Audi A3 40, Audi A4 All-Road, The list goes on and on, but for these vehicles assembled in Mexico, Belgium, and Germany, they about to get a taste of this. And so, if you are in the market for a car, uh, we're trying to spare you the sticker shock. All right, moving along. NBC News also reporting that a Vietnam vet found a dream senior living community. Then, guess what? The new owners jacked up the rent by guess how much? 365%. I saw the story, I could hardly believe it. It was a story about a woman named Martha Bray and her husband who moved to the River Glen of St. Charles, a senior living community west of Chicago. West of Chicago. She figured it would be her last home, and the couple loved the neighborhood's tree-lined streets and tended lawns and tidy red brick townhomes, but the Brays paid a $314,000 entry fee for their townhouse in 2013, plus a monthly maintenance fee. They didn't own the property, but if they decided to leave, their contract promised they'd receive 85% of the current value determined by a local realtor. A Vietnam veteran, Bray, who's 84, thrived at the River Glen even after her husband died in 2016. But all that changed with a knock at the door. In late June 2023, River Glen had been sold to a private equity firm and real estate investment group. That's what she was told, at least. And her financial contract was changing. River Glen's new owners, Jaybird Capital of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Citrine Investment Group of Chicago were jacking up Bray's monthly payments from $1,395 to, get this, $6,500, a 365% increase. And if she didn't like the deal and left the community, she would receive only 75% of the entry fee she paid more than a decade earlier. Be on the lookout. I know if that was my mom, I would be up in arms, and you better believe all the news cameras would be outside that senior living facility. But this is just another example of the fraud that some of our seniors and loved ones have to contend with. And so always make sure, that not only are you looking over that paperwork, but when our seniors are being taken advantage of, make sure we pull up in peace, of course, but pull up. Moving along, a passenger flight, an Air Force jet diverted from a potential collision at a DC airport. Y'all know how much I fly back and forth between DC and LA. And let me tell you, this story didn't make me feel any better, especially as a frequent Delta flyer. U.S. passenger flight preparing to leave the nation's capital, and an incoming military jet received instructions to divert and prevent a possible collision. At least that's what officials said. Delta Airlines Flight 2983 was cleared for takeoff at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport on Friday around 3:15 p.m. The same time, four U.S. Air Force T-38 Talon aircrafts were inbound, according to the FAA. The jets were heading for a flyover of Arlington National Cemetery when the Delta aircraft received an onboard alert of a nearby aircraft. Air traffic controllers issued corrective instructions to both aircraft. According to the recording of the air traffic control communications, Delta pilot asked, quotes, "Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of DCA?" And the recording archived by the aviation site, the controller responded, "Delta 2983, affirmative." What is happening? What is happening? We got the administration, specifically the president, who is so interested in taking over Greenland and on the search for a 51st state and slapping tariffs on things. What about the basic stuff? They're so busy, firing federal workers and cutting this and that. But what about the basics? Should we not feel safe when we fly? Is it just a coincidence that we're hearing more stories about these near aircraft collisions, or something afoot? I don't know, but we need to keep our eye on it. When we come forward, I'm looking forward to being in conversation with some pretty special individuals, some really amazing human interest stories that you don't want to miss. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nii-Quartelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eaton Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't want to see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now. No more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-511-2112. That's 800-511-2112. 800-511-2112.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Military veterans and active duty service members, you could become a certified cyber warrior with just 12 weeks of training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, and IT pros with these skills often enjoy abundant opportunity and a great lifestyle. Protect our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by Apple. Hit me!
National News The Consequence. Informed opinion. And analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai, and really delighted to welcome Dr. Robert Carpenter. He's a UCLA faculty member who holds joint roles in the Departments of Communications and Public Health. But not just that, he's a thriller novelist and a nonfiction author and teacher and trainer. His novel Of Kennedy and King O is a pulse-pounding historical thriller set against the tumultuous backdrop of the 1960s America. The novel centers on this ideological feud between Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. during a time of rising racial tensions and political strife. Dr. Carpenter, thanks for joining us here on A More Perfect Union.
Doc, it is great to be with you. Thanks so much for the wonderful introduction. I wish I'd written that myself. That's great.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. And so, first things first, what made you think of writing this kind of thriller? I mean, I don't know many people that think about writing a thriller that centers around this ideological feud between Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. And for folks who are less familiar about what that feud is all about, very high level, tell us what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to bring to light the flesh and blood behind Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King. They're both the same age. They're both for civil rights. They accomplished historic reforms together, and they hate each other. They sued each other, blackmailed each other. There was so much drama going on. And it's crazy because Bobby Kennedy was the greatest white civil rights icon of all time. And of course, Dr. King, the greatest black civil rights icon of all time. And so I wanted to tell the behind the scenes emotional history of the story, which is why I chose to write it as a thriller instead of as a drama or even in a nonfiction way, because I think one of the discredits that American society has done to Dr. King and to Bobby Kennedy is putting them on pedestals such that we couldn't see or we can't see their flesh and blood, see their humanity, see their emotions, see their trauma. And so because we can't see their pain and their hurt, we don't think that we can elevate and achieve the kind of things that they did. And so we relegate Dr. King to a holiday in January. We dismiss Bobby Kennedy from history. And of course, we then see what's going on today, where you have the rise of anti-DEI efforts, which of course ignores what those two did. So the more we make them out as Santa Claus-like figures, the less we can learn from them and the less we can take the prophetic blueprint that they gave us to navigate through the future. So it's not just a backward look at the 1960s, which of course was putting us on the verge of the 1960s or of a civil war, but it's basically saying, hey, we are facing many of the same things today as they did. They were able to accomplish some significant reforms together. How can we learn from them and apply them to our situation?
When we come forward, I want to dive a little bit more into the personal. A lot of people may not know this, but you're the survivor of a near fatal hit and run. And after you recovered from that, you decided to really dedicate your life to helping empower others to transform themselves and to transform society, and to do so through storytelling and creative leadership. We know that your upbringing and that near-death experience had a lot to do with this pulse-pounding historical thriller that you've written. We want to get into your origin story when we come forward. You were listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Rob Carpenter, author of Kennedy and King O, when we come forward.
If you're looking to be engaged, enlightened, and empowered about issues related to national politics, elections, identity, culture change, and social justice, you tuned into the right place. A More Perfect Union continues when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. A California bill offering home buying aid to descendants of slaves is advancing despite legal concerns. Critics question its race-based implications, while bill author Tina McKenna, a Black lawmaker, says eligibility is not limited by race, just lineage. Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott has named Calvin Young III as his new chief of staff effective April 9th. Young, a senior advisor and former campaign treasurer, replaces Marvin James, who was stepping down. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams' plan to cut income taxes for low-income New Yorkers is likely to be approved in the upcoming state budget. The Axe the Tax plan would eliminate taxes for a family of 4 making under $46,000 or a single person under $31,000. And measles cases are rising nationwide, with more than 400 confirmed so far. Black communities face higher death rates in outbreaks like this due to lower vaccination rates. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Griffith Park on the 134 eastbound at Forest Lawn, look out for a crash that has the 2 right lanes blocked. You are stop and go from pass. The southbound side of the 101 is starting to load up around Hollywood Boulevard and stays bumper to bumper until you reach Alvarado. And in Santa Clarita on the 14 northbound at Soledad Canyon, that vehicle fire is getting worse. Traffic now stopped from Sierra Highway. Expect to sit in traffic almost a half hour.
Since the dawn of baseball, countless players have heard the call of destiny. Witness the hills of the game in ballparks nationwide. Get your tickets today at MLB.com/tickets. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The major challenge for the USC women's basketball team tonight is how to keep Connecticut guard Paige Beckers from wrecking their defense. Beckers had 40 points in UConn's win over Oklahoma on Saturday. The initial defensive assignment on Beckers has been handed to freshman Kennedy Smith. Smith will need a lot of help, and some of that help won't be there. Juju Watkins will be watching on TV. Tough task tonight for USC as they try to join UCLA in the Final Four. 6 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. The selection committee for the NCAA men's basketball tournament got it right. All 4 number 1 seeds made it to the Final Four: Houston, Florida, Duke, and Auburn. It's only the second time in the tournament's history that the 4 number 1 seeds advanced. The first time it happened was in 2008. UCLA was joined by Kansas, Memphis, and North Carolina. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah,
gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey,
I listen
listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck B. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power!
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, your sports connection here at KBLA Talk 1580. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough every Saturday night at 7 for Out of Bounds, the show that brings some flavor to the world of sports for 60 minutes. We take you beyond the scores and press conferences. We give you our point of view, the way Black folks see what's going down. You can join the conversation and give us your analysis at 1-800-920-1580. Out of Bounds every Saturday night at 7 on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
You like the style, though.
Now back to building a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. It is a pleasure to have Dr. Robert Carpenter with us. He is the author of a novel called Of Kennedy and King O. It's a post-pounding historical thriller that's set against the tumultuous backdrop of the 1960s America. I'm sure a lot of it is going to sound really familiar. And who knew that there was this ideological feud between Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. During this time of course, rising racial tensions and political strife in our country? You certainly are very well equipped to tell the story, in part because of your near-death experience. And so I'd imagine that there's sort of no fear. There's a no fear factor that goes along with this. But you also have a pretty multicultural background. You are, part Black, part white, part Native American. You grew up raised by two white parents in a mostly Latino neighborhood with Jewish and Asian best friends. If that ain't the Rainbow Push Coalition, I don't know what is.
It is, brother. It is. And I'm a Black man with that mixed heritage. And growing up, I thought that my experience was normal for folks like us, or for people in general. And it wasn't until I aged and went to school and college, I realized that that upbringing was so different. And so when I read Obama's Masterful Dreams from My Father, I said, there's somebody else like me. And I realized that that perspective has value, and it's different and it's unique. And I wanted to be able to speak from the experiences that I had to bring this book together from the Black perspective, Dr. King, but also from the white perspective of Bobby Kennedy. All of the great books that have been out there about this history, this era from the 60s, have focused only on one or the other. I wanted to put them together. What was it like to a panoramic view of these different perspectives as we move forward in that time? And so my background was able to speak to that, and trying to be charitable at the same time, recognizing that there are a lot of things that I think the Kennedys are celebrated for that. A lot of it's myth and mythology and legend, and some of it's real. And the real part is what Dr. King, what Black folks pushed the Kennedys and pushed white moderates into doing. And of course, now that's the status quo. And so I wanted to speak out of that background now to be able to talk about how together King and Kennedy and all of the other folks came together to create reform.
You know, right now there are a number of people that are taking a long look at what's happening in our country. A lot of these institutions that folks said the institutions as a whole, it looks like the institutions are cracking. It looks like the Democratic coalition is fraying. It looks like, quite frankly, a lot of Democrats, a lot of folks on the left find themselves in the political wilderness. What insights can we glean from your novel to help us out of the ideological wilderness?
And that's a fantastic question. And I think for both students of history, and one of the things that we know is that history comes in ebbs and flows. So it comes in advances and it comes in retreats. And so I think during the 60s, it looked like there was a huge retreat on race relations, on diversity, on really the progress that we had seen happen from Brown versus Board from the 50s. And it took Dr. King and it took a lot of folks in sort of saying, we are willing to personally be unpopular for the sake of the movement. And so I think people who are very pro-reform, who are for equality, who are for DEI, who are for equity, some people have to say that I can't think about my career advancement more so than the advancement of the cause. A lot of people forget that Dr. King only had a 25% approval rating among Black people in the 60s. A lot of folks said he should have compromised. In fact, Bobby Kennedy was more popular among Black people than Dr. King. And he said, nevertheless, I'm going to push this forward. And of course, now he is unanimously considered a hero. And so I think what's one of the big things, sometimes people have to stand up, especially for folks who are in institutions, for folks who really want to see progress. They can't say, well, I'm just going to, for this temporary moment, because there's a beginning, middle, and an end to every administration, to every era, and people can't wobble at the beginning of something because they think it's going to hurt them professionally, hurt them politically. People have to kind of say, if that is my fate to be overrun or to be a stalwart against what's going on, then that is my fate. Instead of saying, well, I'm just going to get out of the way and see what happens, that's never served folks well. In fact, the people that sort of put their hand up and say, oh, well, it looks like it's going this way, what do we consider them typically? The cowards of history. And so I don't want to put this on folks who are pro-DEI. That is not the intention with my comments here. It's just sort of saying that the book shows us that people risked their lives, people died. People, Dr. King, but also don't forget all the kids and all the teenagers and all the people in their 20s and all the folks that stood up and they marched and they protested and they basically, again, forced us into a new paradigm for at least 40 or 50 years. And so now, of course, you see those forces trying to push us back to, the old paradigm and trying to use the language of the activists of the 60s, the language of equality, language that they were against. They've co-opted the language and basically have said, well, this is our language now. But we know that's just not true. And so people, I think the big lesson is they have to dig in and say, it's not about my own personal advancement. It's about advancing the cause, which is greater than myself.
Dr. Carpenter, I'm sure you've seen this T-shirt before. I certainly have seen it in a lot of places. A T-shirt that reads, I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And I'm wondering, does that idea hold, considering the sacrifice that generations have made in the name of advancing our civil and human rights? There are a lot of people that said, well, they better be glad I didn't live back then because I'm not my ancestors. I would have done da 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 da. Well, we're living in a time right now where we're seeing a lot of people, a lot of forces out there capitulate to power. We're seeing unfettered capitalism winning. In some ways, looking a lot like not just the 1960s, but when it comes to our economic systems, our financial system, looking a lot like the 1920s. What say you about that critique?
That's a fantastic critique. It's one I agree with. And I think that people can create a narrative. They can create a narrative of, on the one hand, there has been incredible progress when it comes to Black people, when it comes to laws, for example, when it comes to economic opportunity, although still a lot of progress needs to be made, when it comes to really being able to be taken seriously, having a first Black president, and those types of things. On the other hand, an equally powerful case can be made where we have still fallen incredibly short when it comes to the majority of Black people, when it comes to home ownership, when it comes to real wealth, when it comes to all sorts of other things. And so I actually think that that t-shirt is true. I think it's a mixed message. I think that we are their greatest dream. At the same time, we're also their greatest nightmare, in the sense of they would have hoped that we would have been further, that we wouldn't still have to be having this conversation. And I think that it goes to show you that, again, we've had 60 years of progress, but also progress that has been mixed and that's been pushed back. But that's in the backdrop of 400 years of oppression and 400 years of anti-Black ideology and 400 years of white supremacy and 400 years of so many other things. I mean, if you look at it even today, somebody could say, well, 93% of CEOs are white men. And of course, they make up 30% of the population in America. So it begs the question, are white men that much more powerful, or I should say smarter, more intelligent, more effective than others? Or is there something else going on? And I think any fair-minded person would say something else is going on. You can't be 300% better than other folks, other individuals. And so I think that that critique is spot on that you mentioned. And I think that the thing that I had to personally deal with, Doc, is how do I hold on to hope in the midst of seeing so much despair, in the midst of seeing so much that I believe in fall to the wayside? And I think that's what Dr. King believed in. That's what Bobby believed in. That was the thing they gave us. It was hope. We can live without a lot of things, but we can't live without hope. And without the hope of their generation or prior generations, we wouldn't be here. So even if there's a smidgen of hope, we've got to maintain that hope, and we've got to keep pushing forward so that we can regain some of the gains that we have made and go even further than what we had.
Dr. Carpenter, in our remaining minutes with you, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your thoughts on the MLK files being released. CNN reporting that President Trump wants to speed the release of FBI's MLK spying files. The U.S. Attorney here in Washington, D.C., arguing that the public needs to know the truth about the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. They filed a motion to speed up by 2 years, the release of FBI files related to the civil rights icon. And President Trump saying just a week ago they're going to release everything. Any predictions on what we might see in the files? And any ideas on politically what advantage President Trump and Republicans see in releasing these files?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I hate to make predictions because experts are typically wrong when trying to prognosticate the future sometimes. But I would say that from my research on this book and what I understand about those files is that J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI during that time, had a plan to discredit and destroy Dr. King. We know this. We know that it was evident in memos. We also know that they made up many things in their official memorandum, in their official files. And so I think the first thing I would think is what is accurate from these files, because we know that there are underlings of his who were making things up. There were legitimate things in there, but there are also things that were made up so they could advance in their own careers. So I would want to know how accurate are these documents, whatever is revealed in them. Of course, we also know that some of the things that were real, that we're aware of, I would hope that it wouldn't tarnish his legacy. So for example, there might be some behavior from his personal life. Well, we know behavior from JFK's personal life didn't sully his reputation. So I would hope that there are things that he may or may not have done that it wouldn't cast doubt or a shadow on what he did for Black people and what he did for, more importantly, for America. He was the most important figure in American history in the 20th century. And so I just hope that whatever comes out of it, that people still look to the bright side of what he did, and as opposed to the dark, sinister side, which is being manipulated by those forces behind the scenes who we know were making things up, if not in whole, but at least in part.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. I want to encourage all of our leaders, learners, and listeners to check out your novel. It's called Of Kennedy and King O. It's a pulse-pounding historical thriller. It's set against the 1960s America, and it really focuses on this ideological feud between Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. No time like the present to lean into the insights that a novel like this, a historical novel, offers us in a time such as this. Our thanks to Dr. Rob Carpenter. Please come back again soon.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Doc.
You too. It's good to see you.
Likewise.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More phenomenal guests and the quiet part out loud when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. S&P volunteers work in their community, educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an S&P open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit casmpvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help. At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the number one cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment. Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
We face tragedy, but we don't fall into despair. We continue our work to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte. And, I don't know about you, but this weekend I was thinking a lot about one particular headline that got a lot of play last week. And it was all about, you guessed it, it was all about the Pete Hegseth scandal around the release of information that didn't just represent an example of poor judgment, but it actually put our troops at risk. And that is the part of the story that I don't think we talk nearly enough about. And so I was delighted to see an op-ed published in the New York Times this weekend by Hillary Clinton, where she makes it very clear that, it's not the hypocrisy that bothers her. She says it's the stupidity. She says we're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws. But she also points out that we knew that already. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. She says that's dangerous. She says that's just dumb. And she says this is the latest in a string of self-inflicted wounds by the new administration that are squandering America's strength and threatening our national security, firing hundreds of federal workers charged with protecting our nation's nuclear weapons. Clinton says that's also dumb. So is shutting down efforts to fight pandemics, just as deadly, like the Ebola outbreak that's spreading in Africa. It makes no sense to purge talented generals, diplomats, and spies at a time when rivals like China and Russia are trying to expand their global reach. Secretary Clinton says, in a dangerous and complex world, it's not enough to be strong. You must be smart. And she reminds us that as Secretary of State during the Obama administration, she argued for smart power, integrating the hard power of our military with the soft power of our diplomacy, our development assistance, our economic might, and our cultural influence. It's all of these things. It's not just one of them. None of those tools can do the job alone. Together, they make America a superpower. You ever wonder what makes us a superpower? It's not that we have one of the baddest militaries in the world. It's not that. It's all of these levers that we can pull. Together, they make America a superpower. And as Secretary Clinton said, the Trump approach, she says, is dumb power. Instead of a strong America using all our strength to lead the world and confront our adversaries, she argues that Mr. Trump's America will be increasingly blind and blundering, feeble and friendless. She argues that we should start with the military because that's what he claims to care about. Don't let the swagger fool you. She says that Mr. Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth of group chat fame are apparently more focused on performative fights over wokeness than preparing for real fights with America's adversaries. Does anyone really think that deleting tributes to the Tuskegee Airmen makes us more safe? The Trump Pentagon purged images of the plane that dropped the atomic bomb that ended World War II because its name is the Enola Gay. Instead of working with Congress to modernize the military budget and reflect changing threats, Former Secretary of State Clinton argues that the president is firing top generals without credible justification. 5 former secretaries of defense, Republicans and Democrats, they rightly warned that this would undermine our all-volunteer force and weaken our national security. Again, mass layoffs are also hitting the intelligence agencies. As one former senior spy put it, quotes, "We're shooting ourselves in the head, not the foot, not smart." And so for everybody out there that, says, well, maybe there's the government's doing too much and maybe we do need to, cut this and that. Okay. Bureaucracies should be looked at. Budgets should be reviewed. Personnel should be reviewed, right? But you don't take a wrecking ball to all of this. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it with integrity. There's a way to do it that allows public service workers to maintain their dignity. There's a way to do it to make sure that we're not putting folks in harm's way, both at home and abroad. And so I got it out of my system. I've been mulling this over the weekend. And when I read former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's op-ed in the New York Times, I thought, I'm not alone. And so in case any of you were feeling the same way, you're not alone either. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore appeared on CNN Sunday and did not rule out a 2028 presidential run, instead focusing on his work in Maryland. Republican Delegate Mark Fisher criticized Moore's recent national media appearances, saying he's campaigning for president, not running Maryland. Black Georgia Democrat